before I was 30, and I had 17 years of absolute horrific addiction where I lost, sold, pushed away daughter, wives, family, to the point to where I was unemployable at the end. September 4th of 2017, made a few calls. I had been in and around recovery and never really stuck for 60, 90 days more sobriety, and made a few calls and had a couple men took a shot on me. You know, I mean, there was no evidence at all that I was going to recover. And I didn't have insurance at the time. I was a vet, and they don't really have a lot of resources for people that need addiction services. And so I kind of did it the hard way with a bag of clothes, $40 my brother gave me, and a scholarship into sober living. So, so that's how you get the name Longshot. Is I did a couple of videos on my YouTube channel, Longshot Recovery, and one of the clients at my treatment center says, "You're the long shot. You're Longshot Randy." And I was like, I think that's got some legs. We'll keep that. So.
That's a keeper. Well, you know what? My partner here at Vitality Project is going to put out a link to your website and to your videos, because you've got a whole spate of them and they're all of value, and including the one that you just talked about. You know what? As I listen to you, Randy, there's a specific story that you have. And, you know, you and I both work with people that are in recovery from severe addiction. And I figure that all of us are long shots. And if people give up on us, we give up on ourselves. We're all long shots, aren't we? When you get right down to it.
100% is that just because I call myself or got called Longshot Randy, you know, the industry says, the world, well, first of all, the world says, kind of like we're less than, right?
Yes.
You know, I mean, I remember doing a news report on a veterans facility trying to open up in this neighborhood where there was an elder care center there, and they're like, "We don't want you people in our neighborhood." Right.
You people.
And these are veterans. So you've got addicted veterans trying to rehabilitate, and what I said on this news article is I said, you guys don't understand that, like 3.5 years ago, I had a bag of clothes and nobody wanted anything from me. I said, today, I'm married to a lady that I serve at church with in my children's ministry. I mentor to guys because I got great mentorship from men who believed when I didn't believe. I work for an amazing treatment center who puts client care first. I said, I impact this world today, and I was the one that was forgotten, right? And I'm like, you're missing out on a workforce and a group of people that, when recovered, have a level of gratitude you will never imagine, and will bring more to this world than most people ever bring. So
that's exactly right. Thank you, Randy. You've heard this image before. You probably have used it in some of your sermons. But if you take my jacket and you tear a rip in it like that, and then you repair that, you get a good seamstress and you repair that, you and I both know where that jacket will be strongest. It'll be right 100%. There along the rip. And that's the way that you and I are. We've all been sewn back together. And the fact is we have much to offer the world. There's a beautiful quote out of a poem I love, and it goes like this. You'll appreciate it. A prophet's soul is especially afflicted because it has to become so powerful. It's not less powerful, it's more powerful. And I'm talking about powerful in terms of being able to really live out our potential and contribute the way that you do, Randy. People don't see that in the world, but that is the truth, isn't it?
Of course. Listen, you got guys out there like yourself and Simon Sinek and all these guys. They talk about the majority of the world. Like I was taught, like I was #1 out of boot camp, 6-figure employee, and we're taught that our measure and our value is what the world gives us, right? And so we get measured by achievement. And the achievement is the excitement in life. But what we're all missing, what the billionaires who hire people to say, hey, I got all this stuff, or a father who has got a family, he's got a 6-figure job, and he's trying to figure out, man, something's missing, right? And this is what recovery has taught me is that I have a new purpose. And my purpose and how well I treat others is my value.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I have a pet peeve. I have a few pet peeves, Randy, and I imagine you do too. Here's one of my pet peeves. One of my pet peeves is how the word success has been commandeered by the world. And so success equals financial success, as if any other metric for success doesn't matter. I think it's absolute BS. And I fight against that as much as I can, because we've got to discover that's true success. At the end of the day, when you ask people on their deathbed, what do you regret? They don't say, I regret not having made more money. They say, I regret having lived a life of meaning and of purpose and of value.
Yeah. And believe me when I say, you're absolutely right. There's nobody on their deathbed that says, I wish I had one more Porsche.
Yeah.
You know, there's a guy that I listen to, Andy Stanley as well. And he talks about in early life, it's about the what, right? I want more what? I want more stuff. And at the end, it's about the who. It's about I want you know what I really want today at 51 years old, Dr. Bob? I want more time with my grandfather.
Yes, you know? Absolutely.
That'll get me choked up.
Yeah, you and me both. You and me both, my friend.
Yeah.
You and me both.
But the challenge is this would be a great segue into treatment. Okay. This would be a great segue into treatment.
All right. Let's do it.
Is that for me to have learned that, I had a level of willingness and a gift of desperation that few people not have, but few people keep for any period of time, especially in recovery. So it's like, say, one of the first things that I believe that clients lose when they walk in the door after a few nights sleep and some food is they lose gratitude and willingness. And my segue to this is,
yes, please. Yeah.
If we had the ability to bottle willingness and give it to somebody, I would be a millionaire, right? You know, I mean, I literally, and so to try and pour into, whether you're an addict or an alcoholic, or whether you're just a youth today who's tied up in social media and your entire value is based on how many likes you get on YouTube, right? That we can't pour into people that are not ready to receive it. Pain is a great motivator for change. It is a great motivator, right? And you imagine the times in your life and the times in my life when I was most open to somebody's direction was when I was in a point in my life where I was like, my ideas are not working. I'm ready for some new ideas.
I came across a quote the other day, and it's in the spirit of what we're saying. The author says, your defects are the way that glory gets manifested. Wow. He says, keep looking at the bandaged place, which is what we're talking about. He says, that's where the light enters you. It's not through your strengths and through your success in the worldly sense. It's through your limitations. It's through your finally giving up and surrendering. And like you're saying, and then in that place, we're willing to receive counsel.
I don't think there's a more appropriate phrase when they talk about the gift of desperation, because
I love you using that. I've not heard that, and I'm gonna steal that from you. The gift of desperation. Beautiful. Thank you. It's beautiful.
I'm gonna need a nickel every time you use it.
You got it, brother. You got it. Say more about the gift of desperation.
So the gift of desperation. At the point where you're at that point, you think that it's a detriment, right? Because when I had the gift of desperation, September 4th of 2017, I'm making a couple phone calls. I've got no food, no money, no rent. I'm about to be kicked out. And I never realized that gift of desperation was the launching point to a life beyond my wildest dreams. Because at that point, I became teachable at that moment. Let's talk about treatment. So I'm a director at the Source Treatment Center in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Wonderful.
And so been doing a couple years, and what we see is one of the things that's missing is client care, right? And you got to imagine that, like, that should be the minimum standard, right? I mean, that should be the minimum standard in order to have client care. What I mean by client care is this. I'm never going to knock anybody's programs. I'm just going to I'm going to notice the things that I like about the industry. Okay. Which is this. I like the intimate places like ourselves where we're never going to have a group more than 10 to 12 people. We have leadership, like an owner who does operations down on the ground level. talking to every client on a daily basis. And why is that important for client care? We catch mental health issues. Somebody's been to 10 treatment centers, right?
Yes.
They come in, they get a water bottle, they get a backpack, they get one individual a week, they go to group, they're sitting in the group of 30 people. And as long as they don't make a disruption, they're just kind of pass through, and 30 days later, they're at a PHP. 10 treatment centers later, they finally arrive at someplace like the stores, and Bill's talking to them day after day and says, something's up. And we collaborate with our medical team, and turns out person's got a personality disorder, right? Hard to diagnose, right? But if you're in there, in the ground floor, in the trenches with them on a daily basis, you catch it. And now we have a new treatment plan. Now we've got a new opportunity to address something that hasn't changed, and that kind of segues into the next statement about what could be improved in the treatment industry, which is, listen, you know, it's a constant battle with the insurance companies. Right. As far as long-term care. Somebody says, well, this client's been to 10 facilities. We're only going to give them 7 days of PHP, put them right to OP. Right. So how does that manifest itself? The same way you get to the right treatment center eventually, just like we don't have the same job that I had at 16 as I have at 51. It took me a few times to find the place that was really going to connect with and I feel part of and stuff. And that's what happens in treatment. Sometimes it takes them to get to the right place where they feel a part of, they feel that connection, and therefore they open up, or somebody diagnoses as something that has been a real stumbling block for them. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, I do. In fact, as I'm listening to it, I'm thinking about, I was talking yesterday, Randy, with somebody, and I was saying the insurance companies treat addiction like they might treat gallbladder surgery. Just came to my mind. Is like, you go in, you remove the gallbladder, and you get done with the treatment, get out of the hospital, and they call you, come back in 6 weeks, we'll see how the scar is healing. And that model is applied to addiction. And you and I both know that addiction runs all the way down. It's got physical aspects, it's got mental and emotional aspects, it's got spiritual aspects. It's not like a gallbladder.
It's not a simple, there's a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. And so one of the things I appreciate, we picked for our title today, What's Missing in Current Treatment. And I was thinking about it after we corresponded this morning, is that we're putting our finger on at least one of the things that I think is majorly missing, and it's the fact that you don't have a multidimensional perspective like what you're talking about. If you're ramming people through a cookie cutter program, by definition, you can't give individual attention to all the moving parts. And I don't know how any treatment's going to succeed if you don't individualize or customize the treatment for each individual. Every one of us is unique. Why would our addictions all fit inside one cookie cutter model? It doesn't make any sense to me. It is not one size fits all in addiction treatment, as far as I'm concerned.
And you hit it on the head. And we have clients at the source that they're surprised when they get 3 to 4 individuals a week, right?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
But so what happens is one of the things that I think we do very well is trauma. Okay, and as you know, as a doctor, that 70% of Americans are human. You know, they have trauma of some sort, and a very high percentage of people in addiction, especially the females that come through. And so we made it a point to not just have one trauma therapist. We've got multiple, not just have one trauma discipline, but have multiple. So rapid resolution therapy, been around 10 plus years. It's new, leading edge. The client doesn't have to relive it. They just retell it in a basic form, right? So the good news about that is you can actually start that earlier in a client's treatment plan, because they don't need the tools to have to overcome the emotions about it, right? So you got somebody who comes in and says, listen, I'm only here for PHP, right? That's all I can do. I've got a family back home. We're going to lose the house if we don't go. So you can't start EMDR in the first 4 to 6 weeks, but you got something like RRT, which is we've had a lot of success with. You can start. So then we have the EMDR therapist. On top of that, we've got a hypnotherapist. So
Wonderful. Yeah.
As a Marine, I love the approach of air, land, and sea when we go to battle, right? So
that's good. That's good.
So when we're attacking something that's trying to kill us, which is our trauma, we attack it air, land, and sea in multiple disciplines.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a beautiful metaphor. There's another piece I want to ask you, and it's where we started today. One piece for sure for me, when I thought about my question, because I thought I can't meet with Randy and not answer the question myself. And I simplified it down to two aspects. I realize it's more complicated. This one that we're talking about, air, land, and sea. By the way, I'm going to steal that one too, and I'm going to send you a nickel every time I use it.
Yeah. I'll send you my Cash App signal.
Okay, you got it. So the one of the two came up for me, and it's the fact that we don't deal with air, land, and sea. We only deal with air. Or we only, this treatment only does C, and we've got to do all of those. So that's the one. The other one that came to my mind is prefigured, Randy, by our conversation early on, is that my sense of it is that people go through treatment and they can have a very powerful, what I call a come to Jesus experience in treatment. Many clients do. They leave and they don't have any skills that they can practice that are going to help solidify, create a foundation that is enduring or that helps them to sustain their sobriety. So the second area for me would have to do with recovery-oriented practices. You and I started off spontaneously talking about...
I love that. Keep going. I mean, I want to cut you off, but
I shared with you that I watched last night. I watched your video last night on gratitude because I care so deeply about that. And it's not a one-shot deal. And I know it isn't for you, and it's not for me either. We both confess to each other that it's been central to our own recovery. Is that can we develop a list of practices, body, mind, and spirit, that a client can take home with them and begin to solidify or consolidate all they got in treatment and do that for the rest of their lives, not because it's burdensome, but because it's liberating. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that with you too. Practices that you think could be useful.
I love that. And so there's like 20 different directions we can go with that. But so I'm going to pick 22 of them. No. So here's what myself and one of the owners were talking about. It's like, treatments, insurance companies do not pay for 12-step based groups, right?
No, they don't.
It doesn't. So there's a couple different ways to go with this. One is I'll never jam the way that I got sober down someone's throat. Okay. Yep. What I will say is that there are some really good principles and practices that you can learn through a 12-step group. 12-step practice that changed my life, and whether it be Celebrate Recovery, whether it be Smart Recovery, whether it be whatever, there's a set of principles, right? Now, the challenge is the insurance companies don't find value in them, right?
No.
And although, and I believe that it's like we believe that treatment is for discovery, right? And when you get out of treatment, it's really about recovery. But I think there's a balance between how do we start getting those baseline principles. And so this is my perspective on that.
Yes, please.
Gratitude, right? On the surface, it seems like a word that you can take or leave, right? What does gratitude have to do with my recovery? And so the way I explain it, especially to I have 3 new stepdaughters who,
congratulations, wonderful.
16, 20, and 22, and they are my pride and joy and a part of my life. I never thought I would get to be redeemed because I had a daughter and stuff. So I talk to them about gratitude and they laugh at me a little times because I tell them that gratitude is an action word. It's not a feeling, right? And so I typically get, well, what does cleaning my dish have to do with gratitude? So, and I explain to them, and don't get me wrong, like we have high class problems around here. So I mean, like dishes in the sink is the extent of our problem. So, and so what I tell them is the same people I tell them in recovery is, when you live in an attitude of gratitude, you stop looking at what the world is doing to you, and you start looking at the world is doing for you. Right?
Beautiful.
When you walk around, you stop looking for places and things to take from this world, and you start looking for places where you can start bringing something to this world, right? I used the phrase that for 20 years, I chased currency my entire life, I always thought that if I made enough money, I would outrun my problems, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Almost 4 years ago, September 4, 2017, I had to make a decision of whether or not to take a 50K base plus job with a 6-figure potential, or a $500 a week job where I didn't have to lie, cheat, or steal in order to do this job, and start focusing on recreating Randy. And so I made a decision.
Yes.
Where I started to chase character over currency.
Beautiful, beautiful,
and,
beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
And I started to realize that early on, I didn't have my own set of principles. Just because you know doesn't mean you'll do, right? Just because I know what's right doesn't mean I'll do what's right. So when I realized that I didn't have my own set of principles that I lived by, I started to hang around people that had what I wanted spiritually, emotionally, and relationally, right?
Yes, yes.
And therefore, I started to adopt their principles. And my point to all that is that I believe that in treatment, laying the groundwork of how far a character-driven life will bring you, chasing character over currency. I do better financially, better than I've ever done in my entire life today. And it all started with a $500 a week job chasing character over currency. Because I tell people, Randy, you don't understand. I've got child support. And I said, I know, but I'm going to tell you, when you get up in the morning and your sole goal is to make money, that's going to be that's going to be how you measure the success of your day. My measurement of the success of the day is how well I made a difference, loved God, and loved others, right?
Beautiful.
My barometer for a good day is, was I able to make someone smile? Was I able to give somebody hope? Was I things that I control? The world doesn't control it, because if the world gives it to you, that means the world can take it away.
That's exactly right. Beautiful, beautiful. Randy, I'm going to have to put a bookmark right here because we're out of time for today. I want to say two things. One is, you've already succeeded today because you brought a huge smile to my face and to my heart. And I do mean that absolutely. And I think you know I do. The second thing I want to ask is, I want to ask for your permission if we can do a part 2 sooner than later. Maybe in the next month we can meet again, because I know we've just scratched the surface here. I love meeting with you, Randy. I knew I would. I knew I would. It's beautiful.
Listen, there's 2 parts of my life, and then I'll close with this. There's 2 parts of my life is, I find people to connect with from a business standpoint in treatment that believe what I believe and believe what our treatment center believes, that every client should be treated like family. In my personal life, I find people that believe what I believe, which is we're character chasers, right? Our mission in life is to make an impact on people and this world. I believe that you don't have to change the world. I believe you just have to change one person's world 1,000,000 times over. And that's how we live in a state of joy and not happiness based on external conditions. So I would love to meet anytime.
You know what? I'll finish with a quote from a poem I read just this morning. Didn't realize it was going to come to bear on our conversation. The author says, life is short. Use the portion that's left to deepen yourself, speaking of character. And then he goes on to say this. He says, stay in the presence of those who not only speak wisdom, but are that. Yeah,
I love it
right there. Yeah, I do too.
You get a lot of good quotes. I'm going to have to get with you and see what you're reading.
A nickel.
Hey, I tell you what. So now you only owe me 5 cents.
All right, I'm working down my debt. It's beautiful to see you, brother. I wish you a wonderful day, Randy. We will have you back with your permission. It's wonderful. Thank you for joining us today, brother. Take good care. God bless you. God bless you. Okay. All right. Bye bye for now. Bye bye.